Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with Sam. We had to jump on live tonight. Usually I do my instant match reaction recording, and then we come on and do a bit of a Lions Raw full match reaction show. But we had to jump on tonight to celebrate Villa's 2-0 victory against Tottenham, the last home game of the season, and seeing us in that top 5 position as we speak. So make sure you smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, help us on the road to 6,000 subscribers. And yeah, get your comments in. Sam, great to see you, mate. Another win on the board. We are absolutely flying at the minute.
Hey, hello, everyone. We've hit form. You could argue either at the right time or like a game too late, right? No, I mean, it's been, 18 unbeaten at home in the league this season. The only loss was against Arsenal back in August.
Yeah.
And even then we battered them as well. We probably should have won that game. So, yeah, I mean, it's a representation of where Villa are these days, that we are breaking our own records, 18 unbeaten at home. You know, that's amazing. That's a whole season of making Villa Park a fortress. So, what an enjoyable time to be a Villa fan and to watch us play and getting the results as well. Can't argue.
And yeah, you mentioned that, is it 32 wins this season in all competitions, a record, 18 games unbeaten at home. Absolutely brilliant. And in terms of tonight, I guess, Tottenham made us work for it a little bit more, got a little bit tense, but they didn't really come out to really go after the game. But 2 unlikely scorers for Villa, to be fair, Ezri, Konsa and Boubacar Kamara.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's you always get those big boys in the box for set pieces and kind of expect them to be winning the headers or, scoring from headers. But Ezri Konsa from a set piece manages to get a really important touch. And I think at that point, as soon as the first goal went in, I was relatively comfortable because, like you say, Spurs didn't really come to play so much. They were quite happy sitting behind the ball and trying to hit us on the break. Poor Matty Cash was being bullied. I would say if he was at school, it'd be all the other kids picking on him because Spurs really focused on our right hand side. But and then Boubacar Kamara, it's really strange when he scored. I said to my missus, we were watching it together. I said, I tell you what, he doesn't get a lot of goals, he does. And then the commentator said it's his first Premier League goal ever, and I was like, beggars belief. I thought he scored at least one I can remember Kamara scoring.
He scored one against Everton in the Carabao.
Really good finish actually. On his weaker foot.
Yeah.
And I think that killed the game, if I'm being honest. But really, really happy for them both. And I think it's another reflection of Villa this season, where kind of everyone is chipping in and everyone's making, adding value and being, we're not so super reliant on one thing. We've got talent all over the squad. And I think that's kind of like a reflection on what Unai Emery's been trying to do with Villa. He's been trying to distribute the talent across the team as opposed to focusing on specific star players. And, he wants everyone in the team to chip in with a goal. Pau Torres tonight, he looked like he could have had 3 or 4 assists, playing really well, playing some really actually sensational balls, like really like cutting edge stuff, and everyone's just contributing in their own way. So yeah, really happy for Konsa and Bouba, and yeah, I guess we'll see if they can keep it up. Maybe Kamara will get another one. This will be the start of his new run.
Yeah, hopefully. And I guess it was one of those funny games. I mean, did Tottenham surprise you a little bit with the way they approached the game? I mean, I don't know whether, if you've got nothing to lose and, you're playing some fringe players, I don't know what, I guess I would have maybe expected them in terms of Ange ball to come out and just, go for it and just play the natural game, whereas they just seem to defend. And as Sai said, they had one tactic which was kind of, try and get it out on that left hand side, our right hand side to Son as quickly as possible. But I don't know. I just felt that they just retreated into like 11 men behind the ball, and I thought they maybe could have gone for it.
Yeah, I mean, Spurs did play how they normally play because they lost. I mean, Spurs did what Spurs do every week, and that's lose. But I think, look, I mean, they've got not one eye; they've got both eyes on that fight.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, yeah.
I think they weren't really trying to go in 50-50s, and but I think it is quite tiring to put 11 men behind the ball, and you saw that with young Mikey Moore pulling up. Asensio sent him for an absolute dog. Just a simple 1-2 with Maatsen, and I think it was Maatsen, and he was off. But yeah, I think look, let's call a spade. Villa are by far the better team than Spurs at the moment. I think that quality just kind of shone through in all respects, like offensively going forward, but also defensively as well. Like whenever Spurs kind of came on the break, Villa were really well organised. You've got players like Onana doing these big sort of like challenges whilst running back, and Kamara doing what Kamara does so well. John McGinn gave him an absolute torrid time in the first 20 minutes. He set the tone so well, John McGinn, and that's his version of a captain's performance, is to lead by example and set the tone. And he's just arse straight in there, winning the ball up top, and I think he set the tone for Villa. He kind of put Spurs on the back foot, and once they were on the back foot, I think they just didn't really know how to come out of it. And when you look at them, really, like look at that midfield, they started with Sarr, and they don't really have like the personnel to drive out the same way that Villa do. We've got players all over the gaff who can like run and gain yards and like run through the middle, and they just don't seem to have that. And their best shot was playing it out on the left, trying to target Matt Cash. And to their credit, I mean, it did give them a couple, like all their opportunities.
Oh yeah, they had some nice little moves, and we said before we came on, Martinez had to make a really good save from Adebayor. That was probably their best move of the game, and then there was another one with Son who cut inside and just curling shot that just went over, and they're obviously going to have a couple of moments in the game as we saw. I caught a little bit of the Man United Chelsea game. Man United had some moments in that game. Every team that you play against is going to have one or two moments. It's just about navigating that. And I think what we did so well today was navigated those moments. We've struggled a little bit this season and in previous seasons to beat that team that defends deep and gets men behind the ball and kind of keeps their shape. And we found a way. And I don't think it's too much of a surprise that a couple of goal scorers that aren't the usual type of goal scorers got the goals today, because like you said, that everyone needs to contribute. And while maybe Morgan Rogers was a little bit quieter today, it's up to some of the other players to step up and show what they can do, and that's exactly what Konsa and Kamara did in terms of the goals.
Yeah, 100%, and that's what we were saying earlier. The distribution of talent and everyone stepping up, and I don't really feel like we rely on one person. Like one person's off it, the team doesn't die, and injuries, Rashford out, Tielemans out, and I think managing like Tielemans being out, because I think there were times in the first half where you just kind of think it'd be really useful to have someone who can just release that ball like quite quickly when Spurs are playing a little bit higher. In the rare moments that they did, you kind of saw where Tielemans would have slotted into that, but 100% without Yuri, and that's not a reflection on him. But I think it just goes to show a how good the squad depth is, and B, how well Unai Emery has actually like managed the game plan without Yuri. But yeah, it's amazing, and not many times in my lifetime have we been such a cut above a team like Spurs. I'm contextualize it. I know they're 17th in the league and they're not having a great season, but it was. I don't think we ever really got out of second gear.
No chance. You could see it at the once we got that second goal on like the 70th minute. For like the last 20 minutes, we had a couple of attacks where we thought we'll try, but most of the time we were just passing the ball across the back and trying to. People were saying calm down, just pass, and Tottenham were like standing off us, and they kind of just wanted the game to end. That last 5 minutes was just a bit of a farce, really. But yeah, it's one of those where it's that once it gets to that point where two teams are playing towards the end of the season, one doesn't really have a huge amount to play for. They'll put it in for 65, 70 minutes. Once it gets to 2-0, you might as well call it a day.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm being honest, even there's just that's I think part of me that you can't get rid of as a Villa fan. I think it was like the 91st minute or something, and they were kind of on the break, and I was like, oh crap, if they get one now, I can see them getting another one. Like it's ingrained in me. It's something that like that. Not pessimism.
You mean 18 home games unbeaten, and you're still
the expectation of disaster. Like, but the thing is, disaster could be a draw here. That I think we've had a couple this season, but we seem like a far cry from that team pre-January who was kind of struggling to finish games off. We're getting the clean sheets. That God, do you remember we didn't have a clean sheet for ages? And the stat of conceding with the first shot on target that we've had all season is, I think we've hit form really at the right time, and it was such an important win because it kind of obviously it would have been better if Chelsea had drawn to United. It was one of those where I don't know if you watched that second half of that Chelsea Man United game, but Chelsea's goal was just a piece of absolute ridiculous brilliance from Reece James. He just did this beautiful turn. He almost made me fall off my sofa. And then he doesn't even look, and he just puts the ball on an absolute silver platter for Cucurella, who quite rightly might be the most hated person in football. But it was so, it would have put us everything in our own hands if Chelsea hadn't have beaten Man United today, unless I'm wrong. I think that would have been the case where it would have been in our hands.
Absolutely.
But I guess the thing that makes me nervous actually is watching that Chelsea United games. Although United are the far cry from where they were, they didn't look as bad as Tottenham looked against us.
No, yeah, they'll be a much tougher proposition, and I think it's a difficult one to quantify, because if they win the Europa League, they could be in party mode, but they could also be like parading the trophy, day of celebration, wanting to put a show on for the fans. If they lose the Conference League, I think that would the Europa League. I think that would be a good thing for us, because they'll just be absolutely
really. I was thinking about this, and I think the exact opposite. I reckon if they win it, they know they're in the Champions League. They're on the beach. Unfortunately, I'm hoping that they win it and they just go on a massive bender until the day.
Like we did last season.
Almost
maybe.
Like you're on the beach. That's it. Like they're secure. They've got nothing to fight for anymore. Because there's not even pride.
I just think if they get beat, they might put like just some young ones out and just write it off.
No chance. No, not for Villa. They're gonna bring back the class of '92. But they the funny thing is they I heard that if they win the Europa League, the club aren't putting on a parade.
No, they're doing a barbecue. Yeah,
they're trying.
They're doing a barbecue. Yeah.
That's horrendous.
Serious? They're doing a barbecue.
They are. I don't know who.
Not for the fans. They're not doing a massive. Come and bring your own beer and get a burger.
BYOB, bring your own barbecue.
Yeah.
I think it's. I mean, Man United, especially at Old Trafford, will always make me nervous, because it doesn't matter how bad they are. It's it's such a horrible last game to have because even if they're 15th in the league, Man United are. It's the same with Palace. Like going into that semi-final, they have a hold on us mentally. But it's a big game for us, and hopefully we can do something good with it.
100%. Ken with a £2 super chat. Thank you very much, mate. Much appreciated, guys. Please do smash a like and hit the subscribe button. We are on the march to 6,000 subscribers, nearly 200 in the chat. We just thought we'd jump on live to react to the game as opposed to doing a recording. So yeah, please do smash a like, help spread the word of the channel, hit the subscribe button if you're new and you haven't subscribed yet. We've got loads of comments coming in. I do want to try and
Brett
I know. I'll get to Brett's comment later because I want to do the run-in. So yeah, good evening, Gazza. Good evening, Michelle. Everyone's in the chat. Great to have you in. And yeah, I will come to Brett's in a bit. But I wanted to there's been a lot of chat about good performances and man of the match. So I did my little nominations for the 4 that I thought. I guess we'll talk each of these and then you can maybe give some honourable mentions or you can disagree with who I picked. So I've obviously gone for Kamara and Konsa, the goal scorers. Anana as well. I thought he was another big performance from him. And I thought Marco Asensio in terms of driving and the creative spark. So a few people in the chat were talking Asensio as well. What are your thoughts on those 4 in terms of performances? Who do you want to start with?
It's a difficult one, because I think you could honestly give it to any of them, and they'd all deserve it. Anana, I thought he was brilliant today. He was brilliant last week as well against Bournemouth. He's been in really good form, and I quite like that. And I'm hoping that we can get some clips all throughout the season of me, even when he was injured or when he wasn't really starting games, me saying, give him a minute. He's very young and he seems like he's good crack. Let's give him a chance because I think he clearly can be a really, really big and important player for us. Kamara, just doing what Kamara does every game. It's hard to I think we're spoiled with Kamara. We don't even really notice it anymore. He just does what he does. But I think the goal is a cherry on top for him. Konsa, I thought Konsa was excellent, and I particularly liked him throwing Tell on the floor like a little
man, that was good because you can't. This is what I've liked about Villa these last few weeks, right? We've shown the physicality. We didn't mess about with Bournemouth, threw them to the floor. They were crying about elbows and all that. Get away from it. Piss off about your elbowing and all that rubbish.
Yeah, well, Alex Scott.
It's a proper game of football. Stop crying. And then again today, showing what we're all about. I've been, me, mate. You know how many years I've been talking about this and imposing ourselves on the game and not taking no shit. And this is exactly what we're doing right now.
I think I've got my favourite comment from Sai. Yeah, that one.
How long did he want to keep going on? How many more people did he want to show? I thought it was some sort of OnlyFans.
At the end of that, I could have drawn his nipple off by heart, just from memory. He'd shown it that much. Absolutely brilliant for Konsa. And I agree with you. Sometimes we've been a bit timid in the past, and we don't. People get in our faces. We just kind of, I don't know. We don't always react in the best way. But you need players like Konsa. And the thing is, as well, Konsa, I'm convinced could have picked him up and thrown him out the stadium if he wanted to. And then who was the other one? Asensio. Asensio was sensational today, man.
He was, wasn't he? He was so
good. All he
was
missing was an assist or a goal. For me, I'd give it to Kamara because just he got his first Premier League goal. I thought it was really good. I think that goal killed the game, put us in a really, really comfortable position. Again, makes very few mistakes, and I think I think it's hard to give Kamara the man of the match regularly because he's a defensive player and he just kind of shores things up. And although you can see how brilliant he is, sometimes obviously the accolades and the plaudits will always go to the attackers and the Rodgers and the Rashfords and the Watkins and it's hard to give him his flowers. So 100%, I'm going to give it to Kamara just because first Premier League goal, and I think he's been special all season. He deserves it.
Yeah, a lot of people saying that Maatsen.
He was brilliant as well.
Should have been in. But
brilliant.
Yeah, I think he was excellent. But I've just gone with 4, and I don't know who to take out of that 4 to bring Maatsen in. I think
maybe Anana.
Yeah, but I just love what he does, and I think he was, when he got taken off and he got his standing ovation, I think he would have been very close from the commentators to getting the full man of the match, because he was just commanding that midfield. And look, for me, you have to win the midfield battle to win the game, and he's a massive part. And the last 2 weeks been a huge part of us winning the midfield battle.
It's honestly, it's the point that I made at the start, and I don't want to labour it and keep making the same point, but we're a different beast when we have so much, so many good players and so much talent sort of spread across. Everyone when we're on it, everyone's sensational. Even Emi Martinez, he only really had one thing to do in the game, but he was ready, he was alert. Ollie Watkins, fine, he wasn't where he would want to be tonight. He didn't get the goal, but he got an assist. He was causing problems. He was lively. He was moving around. Ollie Watkins had a good game.
I thought he held the ball up quite well. I thought he held the ball up quite well today. Like, there was one bit where he teased Gray into the yellow card. Yeah. But for those players, it was quite difficult. Rodgers, as it started to open up later on in the game, he started to come alive a little bit more. Whereas in that first half, it's very difficult for him to find that space to be able to run at players. And then obviously he's down that right hand side, and it was interesting to see Asensio just take the game by the scruff of the neck. And you've already talked about McGinn and what he does and how he. I guess it was always going to be that one of those games, if we didn't get the early goal, it was going to be probably one of those games that turned out to be where we'd grind them down, and at some point we would get the goal, and that's how it happened. And it doesn't matter who scores it, and it doesn't matter how it happens. You just have to win the game. You just have to. It's all it's only about winning games right now, and that's it.
Yeah, 100%. And like I say, we managed to do that in second gear. So. Job done tonight, as far as I'm concerned. No injuries for us. Go into the last game as full strength as we can be, and see. Hopefully, Man United play tonight. They'll play on Wednesday. Hopefully, they'll come to us, whether it's through depression of losing the game, or whether it's the adulation and the highs, the adrenaline rush that they're coming down from winning that final. As long as they're on the beach by the time they get to us, I don't really care. Exactly. I am nervous about it, and this is the thing, and I'm sure we'll go on to Brett's comment later, but or maybe this can be a nice segue. But yes. I do get where he's coming from, and I'm glad that the Villa Park podcast comments are a safe space, because although I disagree with him, I disagree with him. That's not true, in my opinion. The win means everything because it keeps us in the race. But the point that he makes about United, just because they're 15th or wherever they are, or 16th, it not being an easy game, I agree with. And maybe again, it's just a pessimist in me, or the old Villa fan that I can't get rid of. But I don't think it's going to be a walkover, especially at Old Trafford. It was at Villa Park. I'd be so much more confident.
100%.
Yeah.
100% agree with it. And look, right, last week, and we'll get into, like I said, I don't think it was a wasted result because Chelsea won, because there's other teams that it now puts pressure on. And what I said last week was, if anything of last week's results showed us, is that there are more twists and turns to come. Like, who thought that Manchester City would not beat Southampton? There isn't a single person that thought that. There's probably not that many people, especially when they went 2-1 up at home, that didn't think Forest were going to end up, going on to draw that game. Everyone would have thought, that's it now. Forest go on to win that game. So the benefit of us playing on the Friday night, yes, Chelsea won today, fine, but it's also brought Manchester City back into the equation. It's brought Arsenal back into the equation. It's brought Newcastle still into the equation. It's brought Man City massively into the equation. And Nottingham Forest and Chelsea have to play each other next week. So if Forest beat West Ham away from home, because they know they have to win, that game means everything to Nottingham Forest, and then we have to beat Man United. So there is still so much more to come. Everton against Newcastle, it's not an easy game. Everton and Newcastle have got a bit of history against each other. They don't like each other. Everton will not want to lose that game. I can guarantee that for certain. Now, we know, obviously, if Newcastle beat Arsenal, then they're pretty much done. But then that brings Arsenal back into the equation. So there's still a few twists and turns to come. All Villa can do is win their game, win their final game. And, you know, at the end of the day, if you don't do it after getting 69 points, I think, was it 67 we got it with last year?
No, I think, did we not
68? No, we didn't. No, we didn't.
You sure?
Yeah.
Let's find it. So
someone in the chat will tell us.
23-24, right?
I'm sure.
68 points we got.
Yeah.
68 points we finished on. So we're 2 away. And again, it shows the consistency.
So if we win, we'll have more points than we did last season,
which is bizarre because we seemed so much better last season, didn't we?
Yeah.
I think that's I think what you said is right. All we can do now is focus on United. Everything, and this is the thing. Even, and I said this so early on in the season. You know this, especially in our group chat. I was constantly bemoaning the goal difference and the fact that we were only winning games by a goal, and then we were losing games by 3 or 4, and our goal difference was horrible. And I said this about a month and a half ago. I said our goal difference is going to kill us here, and that might prove to be the case. But I think if we're being realistic, at the end of the day, you can't ask for much more from these boys than what we've had this season. You know, maybe a little step further, but we're talking about a Champions League quarterfinal. We're talking about FA Cup semi-final, trip to Wembley. We're talking about Villa on the final day of the season, depending on how the other results go, being in a pole position for not just Champions League, but we're on for second. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that, I'm not even joking. Like, it's we could mathematically finish second. Like, you know, I know it's people accuse it of not being a vintage. Vintage year in the Premier League, but I disagree. I think that teams in the Premier League have gotten stronger, the same way that you see it in the Championship. People are tighter together. It's not so easy for first to beat 15th or 14th. It's not, everyone is getting better. There's more money in the Premier League. People are able to strengthen better, and
they
it's
can
a more
keep hold of their star players. Yeah.
It's a more competitive league this year. And that's why you've got, I know that we've got 5 spaces, but that's why you've got 6-7 teams competing for Champions League, and I don't mind that. I just wish we were a bit more comfortable and it was in our own hands. But it's been amazing, man. It's been so good, and I go into that Man United with as much belief as I've ever had going to Old Trafford. Yeah.
Kevin says Villa putting massive pressure on them all. I'll tell you straight, we'll get top 5 and it won't necessarily be Chelsea who F it up. Yeah. And Brett says, how lucky are Chelsea? Liverpool who won the league and can't be better than Man United in a final, 6 points given to them. That is true. However, they lost to Newcastle and they could potentially lose to Nottingham Forest away next week. So it's all to play for. Absolutely all to play for.
Do you reckon we make it, Rich? And if we do make it, at whose expense? That's a grumble of a man who's thinking.
I know, man. I know. It's so hard. Like, I do think we make it now. I really do. And
at whose expense?
I think it could be at Manchester City's expense.
See, for me, they're the least likely, and I'm including Arsenal in that. They're the least likely.
We can't finish second because Newcastle play Arsenal. So whoever wins that game, so Arsenal just need a point.
So Man City they got Palace tomorrow.
No, Man City. That's in the FA Cup, yeah. Then they've got Bournemouth on Tuesday, and then Fulham away.
Bournemouth at home and Fulham away. I can't see them losing either of them.
Fair
enough. I know. I knew what you were going to say. We said, but there's anomalies in football, right? That's like
of course. But now the pressure is fully on them.
But is it on
them? I think the likelihood is that Chelsea are the ones that will drop points. If Forest beat West Ham, which is probably what we want, because then everything is riding on that game.
You reckon? Because they could push us down in the league even further. Do you know?
No, because Forest would if Forest maximum points taken is 68 points.
Yeah, so
right?
if they beat West Ham and then they beat
So
Chelsea in the last day, we could finish 7th if we don't beat
Yeah,
United.
but we know we've got to win anyway. Yeah, we know
but
we've
I'm
got
saying
to beat
if they lose to West Ham or they don't beat West Ham, they can't go above us, and we guarantee top 6.
And then but then they can't finish in the Champions League.
What you reckon that they? Yeah, I get what you mean. You need to have some jeopardy on their final game.
They have. We want them to go into that last game knowing that they have to beat Chelsea, because then if we win, we stay above both of them.
I'm convinced that Newcastle beat Arsenal because every time they play them, they absolutely batter them.
Yeah, I think, and then I think that takes them out because Arsenal got Southampton on the last game, which they'll win that. So for me,
well, you say that, but did you think that?
Well, yeah, I know. touche, Rodney, touche. But yeah, I think the most likely is Chelsea or Man City now. I do think that is the case. But I think we can do it, Us getting that win, Chelsea getting that win, does put a fair bit of pressure on the Arsenal-Newcastle game and puts... and then, Man City outside of that top 5. I guess going into that Tuesday night, they'll know if they put everything into that. You know what Man City are like at home when they just control possession and that kind of stuff. I think they probably do beat Bournemouth, but Fulham away is not an easy game for a lot of teams.
I mean, is it not?
I think they've beaten some big teams at home this season, Fulham.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's beaten some big teams over the season. I mean, I think it's one that, look, if you had to put money on it and you're completely objective, you'd probably put money on City. I think if Bournemouth
they beat Liverpool at home.
Yeah,
they beat Spurs at home. That's not different.
Everyone's beaten Spurs at home, including us now.
They beat Forest at home.
The big one for me is Bournemouth because it'll be a few days after they played in the final of the FA Cup, and if they win that as well, maybe they will have a beer and stuff. They're just such consummate professionals.
Do you think we're going to do it? Do you think we're going to do it?
I think we're going to beat United. That's what I think. I think we're going to give ourselves the best chance. My issue is, and I'm kind of with Brett on this, like Chelsea. I watched Chelsea tonight. I watched the second half. As soon as the Villa game finished, I turned it over to Chelsea. And watching them play, I was just like, we're so much better than Chelsea. Like, if the game was Villa-Chelsea tonight, we wouldn't beat them. But the problem for me is I can see everyone winning their remaining games. And I know that Chelsea and Forest still have to play each other, and Arsenal and Newcastle still have to play each other. But I think that I don't think Forest get it. I think Forest are done, for me, honestly.
Well, look, this is the thing, right? So you're saying we're going to beat Manchester United.
I think we are. I think Chelsea beat Forest.
So you think Chelsea beat Forest?
I think Chelsea beat Forest.
So you're saying that. So you're saying that Newcastle beat Arsenal and they beat Everton. So
Newcastle beat Arsenal. Newcastle beat Everton. Arsenal win against Southampton. Chelsea win. They're against Forest. That leaves us safe.
And Forest beat West Ham but lose to Chelsea.
Yeah, maybe. But I think we're going to be joint on points with Chelsea. I think we're going to lose on goal difference. I think we're going to finish safe on goal difference, and I think it's just going to be out of our hands. And that's the most frustrating thing is to lose out on the Champions League by goal difference. Well,
if after Tuesday, so if Manchester City win, if Newcastle win, and if Nottingham Forest win, it's out of our hands. It's still out of our hands. If Manchester City don't win against Bournemouth,
I think it's still.
It's still out of our hands. We need Bournemouth to beat Man City.
No. We're ahead of City now. If Bournemouth beat City, then it's in our hands.
Yes, that's what I said. We'd need Bournemouth to beat City, but if City drew, it'd be in their hands.
But this is the thing. Look, I'm going to read the goal difference for you for the top 7 teams. So
I'm looking.
46. Arsenal 33. Newcastle 23. Chelsea 20. Villa 9. which is impressive that we managed to get it up to 9, if I'm being honest.
Mm.
Man City 24, and even Forest on 12. We just we're not going to overturn any of those deficits against United.
It needs a result to go our way, but yeah, I think still that most likely one is Forest beat West Ham, then we beat Man United, and Forest beat Chelsea. That's what
I have a feeling that on the last day of the season, I'm going to miraculously find God and just start praying harder than I've ever prayed before, and then the day after I might lose him again. But I think it's one of those.
Peter says if we do win, a Forest Chelsea draw is all we need,
and that's another thing. A draw is a really plausible result. But I've watched Forest recently. I watched them against Leicester. Obviously, watched them against us. The Forest don't look at it, and this is why I say I think Forest are out of it. I think it's between what is currently the top 6, and that's us, City, Chelsea, Newcastle, and Arsenal. Forget Liverpool; they've won the league. So I think Forest are no longer in the equation. I can actually see him losing to West Ham tomorrow, which I know for you is worst case scenario. But in the last 5, they've drawn 2, lost 2, and 1.
Yeah, we definitely we need them to be with something to play for.
Fat ass owner running onto the pitch and shouting at Nuno. The vibes are going to be low. They come. I don't know.
We'll see, mate. We'll see. I'm just buzzing that we got the win and we've given ourselves a shot to take it to the last game. That's it. And I think we're going to do it. I really do think we're going to do it.
I think we are. I think we're going to beat. Like today was massive. I think beating Man United, I think is doable. I definitely think that we could do that, and I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that we do beat them. But this is what I was saying. It's not. I'm not worried about our results. We're at a stage now but there's a lot of football left to play. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't sound like it, but there's 2 games for some. There's another game for and that last day. Can you remember another last day with that last game against Brighton that we had when we got into the Conference League? But
exactly,
this is going to be a day we're all going to be on the edge of our seats. We're going to be watching, and it's going to be amazing. So and this is what football is, whether we make it or whether we don't make it. And this is, I'm the pessimist, and I'm the guy on the show that all the comments are directed at because I'm a bit negative. But I think whatever happens, Europa League, Champions League, I think we've been sensational this year. And disappointment is obviously going to be the main feeling, but it's just going to be, once you let it all settle in, it's just going to be pride at what has been honestly one of the best seasons of my life and has given me the best moments. That you think about a goal against Bayern Munich, that win against PSG at home, even though we lost the tie, that game itself, that John McGinn goal, the Duran goal against Bayern Munich, everything's been heightened this year. It's the most fun I've had.
The 4-1 victory against Newcastle.
Yeah, beating Newcastle, beating Spurs.
Seeing Jason Tyndall's face.
It's just crying. It's been absolutely mint. And I think Newcastle are an interesting one, by the way, because they still don't have Eddie Howe. So but Newcastle, I think they're a really good team. I think on their day they beat almost anyone. So final point for me on that is I think whatever happens on the last day of the season, however the chips may fall, I think as fans we can't do anything but just stand up and applaud Unai Emery and the boys and what they've done, and just kind of reconcile what an amazing season that we've had, and another season guaranteed in Europe next year.
Exactly. And look, that just extends it even more. The points per game since the transfer window closed, it's crazy what we've done, and you could argue we've had to do that, but this is again the point that when it's come to the crunch, we've put these results in. 8 wins from the last 9 games. We've done it ever since we were back in the Championship to get us into the Premier League. This team has put these runs together. We've done it that season.
The 10-game winning streak in
10-game winning streak in the Championship. The little run that we had to keep us in the Premier League. The run that we had to get us into the Conference League. The run that we had at the start of the season that we got before we sort of stumbled over the line to get us 4th, and then this one now that I think I believe will get us into the Champions League this season, which is an incredible achievement. But I equally agree with you that it has been a great season regardless, and to see all European football and what will most likely be minimum of Europa League football is absolutely tremendous for the club. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. I will leave it there, mate. Brilliant win.
Do you want to talk about Emmy? Quick.
Oh yes, sorry. Yeah, just couple of minutes. Yeah, we'll obviously there was a little bit about Emi Martinez and Leon Bailey at the end. Not sure if that is a little bit of a sign that they might not be here, and next season maybe Leon Bailey probably the most likely one not to be here. But there is interest from Saudi about Emi Martinez, and maybe that is the signing that needs to be done, or the sale that needs to be made. Sorry, for the PSR balance in the books, and there's been rumours of Juan Garcia of Espanyol coming in. So I think regardless, two really good. Well, Emi Martinez is just a brilliant servant to the club. Leon Bailey, a player who's contributed to many moments, and I guess will really be remembered. And that's that they've done their job for Villa.
Yeah, man, you have to. I sort of wonder at the end of the game, final whistle, which one of those players has played their last game at Villa Park. The camera was panning to Ollie Watkins. It was panning to Leon Bailey. Emi Martinez was visibly upset. She was sort of crying as he went off. And before he went off, and the Villa fans were singing the world's number one to him, Anana was kind of like raising his hand and pointing to him, and it seems pretty certain that Emi thinks that he's going somewhere and that he was saying goodbye to the Villa fans tonight. Leon Bailey the same. Do you know what? I really liked Leon Bailey when he came on. I thought, he came on the 89th minute, and I still like watching him run with the ball. He was so integral last season, and his contribution shouldn't ever be downplayed. But I think that's just the nature of football,
Yeah, of course.
We learned. I think Emi has had, and we said this before the show started, we had some sensational moments this year. Like even tonight, that stuff from Odeburn and the save against Southampton. Honestly, the best Premier League save.
The one against Nottingham Forest.
Yeah. Was it Forest where he kind of did the?
Yeah.
Sorry, that's the one I was talking about. Yeah, just he's been, he has been the world's 2 Yashin trophies. The number one keeper in the world whilst he was with us, and I don't think we've ever had a best in the world officially with us in my lifetime. So, it'll be really sad to see some of these players go. Obviously, Watkins is one of those who he divides opinion. More people kind of like lay on the side of Watkins. But if that was Watkins' last game at Villa Park today, like when he got subbed off and Marlon came on, genuinely, kind of even just sat down on my sofa, just gave him a little clap and what he's done. And it very well may be. You talk about cashing in. 30-year-old Watkins. When Rashford was fit, was he kind of taking Watkins' place in the team? And who else? Who knows what else? Heard rumours of Chelsea coming in for Ezri Konsa, or Kamara is still negotiating his deal. There's so much that can change between now and next season. But I think what Emery has shown is it doesn't matter who leaves or who comes in. This is a team. This is like the scouting department and the senior leadership of the club. They won't panic depending on who goes in and who comes out. Like, we'll get the money and we'll go and we'll unearth other amazing talent like Morgan Rogers and so on and so on. Even Jacob Ramsey couldn't play today. Is it possible that he's played his last game at Villa? So you never know. But it'd be really sad to see him go and anyone else, because I do love this team. I think it's a great group of people.
And look, Kev and Peter, we know it's all speculation, and that's why we're talking about it. But at the end of the day, it's football club. Villa aren't. I don't get worried or concerned about Aston Villa selling any player. Gone are the days now where it was like, if we sell a certain player, everything will be all over. We have the right infrastructure now. We have we're an attractive proposition, and we sell players at a high value now. We don't just give players away for nothing. Like this whole Manchester City sell players when they want to for high value. Chelsea sell players. This is the evolution of a football club. This is what you do. So I don't have any concerns about any player leaving Aston Villa because I know we'd be able to attract really good players coming in the other way. It doesn't bother me.
The way Kev's
they're professional footballers.
Yeah.
We love Aston Villa more than they love Aston Villa. It's their job, right? They could go at any time. It's the way it works.
Never get too attached to it. That's what I learned from Jack. Really, it's like never get too attached to it. But I was just the funny thing is the way Kev has put his comment. He's made it seem as if I was talking about facts. All I said is we don't know who's played their last game at Villa, but regardless of who comes and goes, we'll probably be all right. So I don't know what I'm supposed to behave about. Kev, maybe you should get back in your box a little bit because all I said is Emi Martinez was crying and some players might leave. Is that sorry? Am I talking out of turn there, or is that too bold a prediction?
No, I don't want any player to. I don't necessarily want them to go, but I'm not bothered if they do or don't. It doesn't bother me. Villa will still be here. We'll still have a good team. We'll sign other players and we'll love it. We'll love other players and other players will do well. That's how it works.
Is what it is. But we've still got a game to go. Season's not over. Can't worry about who's coming and who's going. Sorry, Kev, I didn't mean to upset you, mate. Why don't you? We've still got another game to go. We'll work it out. And look, the main thing about getting Champions League football is obviously we get to see the boys in the Champions League next year. It will help us with PSR, but as well, and really importantly, it will help us attract a higher quality of player when we go into the transfer market. So let's see what we can do, and all eyes on Old Trafford next week.
100%. And when we do get Champions League, see, I said when.
Yeah.
The pundits might actually stop thinking of Villa as a flash in the pan team and actually an established top 6 team.
Who gives a shit what the pundits think about?
Who cares?
We're never going to get their approval, mate. It's honestly the pundits and the media are like.
You know what? The commentator still. He was commentating on the Aston Villa Tottenham game, and he's still talking about Manchester United were currently drawing against Chelsea, and he said, "Oh, Manchester United could still go 1 point. Would actually go 1 point ahead of Tottenham." Who cares?
Yeah, it's true.
Villa are in at that point. We're in 4th place in the league, and yet he still finds time to talk about Manchester United being a point ahead of Tottenham in 16th position.
It was the end of the first half when they were talking about how impressive Spurs had been and Spurs' chance. They literally said Spurs' chances. There was only one chance. That was all they had, and we had eight corners, or we had all these chances. And look, mate, honestly, I couldn't care less if. The day that I'm waiting for Danny Murphy to give us a pat on the back, honestly, is the day that I've genuinely got nothing better to do. I don't care what they think. It's about us and it's about our journey. And the example I gave the other day is, like our whole life, or my whole life, I have been told that, Villa is a sleeping giant, and you go to the pub with your mates and you try and justify why Villa are such a big club, and all my mates are Spurs and Arsenal fans, and I'm trying to say, Villa are a bigger club than, and now they're giving me ammunition for my conversations down the pub. If I'm being honest, I don't care what Gary Lineker or Alan Sheeran thinks about Villa. I like the fact that I can go into a conversation about Aston Villa with my head held high and say we are a Champions League team, and look at what we've done. And we're 18. We only lost 1 game at home in the Premier League this last season, and we beat PSG when they absolutely battered Arsenal. It's that's why I want Villa to do well, not so that Danny Murphy can say, Villa are all right.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah. Well, amazing stuff, Sam. Always good to get you on. And yes, we're going into next week with real positivity, and we have put the pressure on the teams on Sunday in the race for the top 5. And I'm very, very confident we can get our result, and then we'll let the chips fall where they may, as you said earlier. Make sure you hit that like button, people. Hit the subscribe button. We'll be back with probably some transfer speculation, some transfer talk, and see what rumours are coming. I'll do a show on that. Possibly talking tactics. Gareth is having some laptop issues, but hopefully he will be back to discuss the Tottenham victory. Fans Forum on Tuesday night. I'll try my best to get 1 or 2 guests on as well. It's been really good having Justin and Luke and Ryan on, so hopefully we'll get a couple of others on Tuesday. and then previewing the big game next week, then the big weekend of Premier League football to round off the season and hopefully see Villa into Champions League. So stay with the channel, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Thank you all for watching. And as always, remember, we all follow the Villa.